From cities filled with crime to others known for their awful weather, today on Across the Globe, we're going to look at the 10 cities everyone is leaving in America. With all this talk of people relocating, it's easy to find out where people are moving to. But what about the places where people are leaving? We've picked 10 cities that people are leaving right now in search of better living. Let's get to it. 10. Minneapolis, Minnesota. Our list starts with the largest city in the good state of Minnesota, the Midwestern city of Minneapolis. Minneapolis sits on the county seat of Hennepin and currently has a population of about 439,430 residents, all living on a total land area of around 57 square miles. To be fair, this city does have an innovative economy due to its large number of industries ranging from software to renewable energy, so it is usually considered among the better places to live, until recently that is. While the happy-go-lucky residents of the City of Lakes may enjoy the wonderful waterways, great outdoor views, and the convenience of having a lot of major industries, the devastating effects of the previous pandemic have left an indelible mark on the city's residents, and so a lot of people have been motivated to move elsewhere since last year. Many of the residents complain about Minneapolis's winters as well, pointing out that it can get very long and very cold. In recent years, thousands of Minneapolians have either lost or changed their jobs, thereby bringing the rate of unemployment to an all-time high of 10.08%, compared to the national average of 3.5%. The recent events may have also contributed to the wave of violent crime that has recently washed over the city, bringing the crime rate to 18%. This new development has earned Minneapolis a spot among the most violent cities in America. These violent crimes cut across robbery, rape, and aggravated murders. As a result of this violent crime spree, former residents like Julie Orden can't count the number of times she had to dial 911 when gunshots rang outside her North Side home. Another resident, Marnette Gordon, had to rush her son to the ER after he got shot getting gas. I don't know about you, but given these circumstances, I would move out too. 9. Chicago, Illinois. One place you would never have suspected to be in danger of losing its residents is Chicago, Illinois, but as it turns out, that is the case. The big city of Chicago is the most populous in the state, with a current population of around 2,756,546 residents living on a total land area of about 227.3 square miles. On the surface, Chicago is a cultural center with a well-diversified economy, one that makes it one of the richest cities in the world. But if you take a closer look, you will find that it is a tad bit hard to get a job here. The rate of unemployment stands higher than the national average at 4.3%. With a job market that is currently in the slums, the cost of living in Chicago does next to nothing to ease the burdens of locals. In fact, it costs 33% more than other cities in Illinois and 25% more than the national average to live here. As one would expect, this puts an enormous strain on the pockets of residents. As if that's not enough, the rate of crime is another cause for concern among locals. Today, Chicago is only safer than 10% of the country's cities, and residents here risk a 1 in 103 chance of being victims of violent crimes. People seem to be leaving to other places in pursuit of a better professional life, lower taxes, and safer environment. 8. Denver, Colorado. Denver is yet another place where scores of people have been moving out recently, and frankly, we don't blame them. Denver may be the most populous city in Colorado, but this big city is having a hard time keeping its residents. It has a current population of about 738,594 residents, all living in a total land area of around 153 square miles, and that number keeps counting backward. The city of Denver, which is also known as the Mile High City, has its famed ski slopes, beautiful mountain views, and an interesting combination of big city life with culture, but it also has an extremely high cost of living. It is 8% more expensive living in Denver than in other state cities and 12% more expensive than the national average. This big city may have a job market that is doing quite well, but that comes as a little consolation to residents when considering they may have to dodge a few bullets on the way home. The crime rate here is more than double the state and national average. Residents of the city have a 1 in 113 chance of being victims of violent crimes, and this is a chance many people aren't willing to take come next year. 7. Detroit, Michigan. And here comes another large city in another state that is losing residents at an alarming rate. Detroit is one more place in Michigan that U.S. citizens seem to have had enough of. This city, which is in Wayne County, has a current population of around 635,596 residents, all living on a total land area of about 138.7 square miles. Also known as the Motor City, Detroit is famous for being the automotive center of the world. It has an average of 183 good sunny days, an iconic music scene, a robust business atmosphere for new businesses, and plenty of other perks. But despite this, many keep asking if the city will ever recover. The real truth here is that Detroit is and has been on the decline for a while now. The city has an abysmally high rate of unemployment, one that is more than double the state and national average at 7.2%. That's not all. In Detroit, the residents not only lack job opportunities, but they also live expensive lives. The cost of living here is 14% more expensive than in other cities of the state and 3% more expensive than the national average. In addition to a poor job market and an abysmally high cost of living, you know we have to mention the crime rate too, which is so terrible that it is at least 4 times higher than in other cities in the state. In Detroit, there is a 1 in 44 chance of being a victim of violent crimes, so it is not uncommon to see residents looking over their shoulders on the streets. Denver's crime doesn't seem so bad now, does it? 6. Boston, Massachusetts. Boston is a well-known city in the state of Massachusetts, so you may already know that most residents are fleeing the city. The city has a current population of around 693,417, all living on a land area of about 48.34 square miles. On the surface, Boston is known for its rich American history, popular attractions, and delicious food. However, a closer look will reveal that Boston is one of the most expensive cities in the U.S. The cost of living here is about 48% more expensive than the national average. Yeah, that's not a typo. This is why the Boston metro area nearly lost 37,000 residents from 2020 to 2021 only, a decline of almost 1% of the entire population. In addition to costing an arm and a leg, Boston is also not the safest place to be. Otherwise known as the city on a hill, Boston has an alarming rate of crime and is only safer than 19% of American cities. 5. Seattle, Washington. Right around the west coast of Washington, in the seat of King County, is Seattle, another well-known city that is losing a size of its population. The current population of the city is about 762,687 residents, all living on a total land area of around 142 square miles, and people are leaving every day. On the surface, the Emerald City has easy access to nature, a thriving economy, various diverse industries, and 24 jazz clubs on Jackson Street. However, behind the scenes, the city is busy drilling holes in the pockets of residents with its very high cost of living. It is 36% more expensive than the state average and 54% more expensive than the national average. But that's not all. There is also a chance of your house being emptied of value before the bank comes knocking because the crime rate in Seattle spells out danger. There is a 1 in 152 chance of being a victim of violent crimes on its streets and even higher chances of being robbed at home. These frightening odds set the rate of crime here above other cities of the state and the national average. In addition to all the other factors, the weather here is also playing a part in the population reduction. Seattle has way too many dark and gloomy days in winter and enough rainy days to leave you feeling blue for most of the year, so it's no surprise that a lot of its residents are seeking new routes with sunshine. 4. Washington, D.C. At first glance, living in Washington, D.C. might seem like a dream come true, but this is unfortunately not the case. Washington, D.C. currently has a population of around 707,109 residents, all living on a total land area of about 61 square miles, and it is struggling to hold on to that number. The capital may stand tall as the seat of government that is rapidly growing and attracting young upstarts from all over the world, but on the downside, it is unbelievably expensive to live here. Currently, Washington, D.C. is ranked in the top 1% of the most expensive cities in the world, so living here can be a literal pain in the pockets. With the residents already battling the high cost of living, it certainly doesn't help that there is also a bad job market to worry about. The rate of unemployment here is higher than the state and national average at 4.6%. While the numbers don't seem all that bad, it can still be a big concern when you have expensive bills to pay. For those living here, stress is probably a feeling that is all too familiar. Residing in the city often means working yourself to the bone while trying to stay afloat, and even at that, 15.5% of the city's population lives below the poverty line. Finally, the rate of crime in Washington, D.C. is exactly on par with the state and national average, so the city offers no comfort of safer streets. That is one too many missing comforts to keep residents from moving out of the city. 3. New York City, New York. The most densely populated city in the United States is another place that cannot seem to keep its residents recently. New York City currently has a large population of about 8,930,002 residents, all living on a total land area of around 300 square miles, and these numbers are dwindling rapidly. The big city is by far the most vibrant and diverse in the world. It is a city that never sleeps with a thriving economy, but it is also the most expensive city to live in. Many think that it is only the skyrocketing rents that is chasing most of the city's residents out, but it's way more than that. The cost of living here is 26% higher than the state average and 95% more than the national average. Along with its high cost of living, New York City also has a poor job market with its rate of unemployment sitting at 5.9%, which is way higher than the national average. The crime rate in the city is yet another concern for residents because crime has jumped up 44% since the start of 2022. There is now a 1 in 172 chance of residents being a victim of violent crime, which is higher than the crime rate of the state and national average. Based on all that, it's pretty easy to see why everyone is changing their minds about the Empire State. 2. Los Angeles, California. The largest city in California, Los Angeles is another place that seems to be losing residents at an alarming rate. The city currently has a population of around 3,919,973 residents, all living on a total land area of about 469 square miles. And if you check again, it might be less already. The wave of moving residents began last year and was accelerated in 2022. Seems like the state of California as a whole has lost some of its luster, and Los Angeles, with its great outdoors, world-class cuisine, pleasant weather, and more, can't do much to stop the trend of losing the locals. So why are they leaving exactly? Well, for one, the cost of living here is 7% more expensive than in other California cities, and 51% more expensive than the state average. The job market also offers little comfort with a rate of unemployment that is significantly higher than the national average. These reasons, along with the fact that the city's rate of crime is almost double the state average and the national average, account for why Los Angeles can't seem to keep its residents. Number 1. San Francisco, California. The final American city on the list that is having some trouble keeping its residents is San Francisco, the 4th largest city in the state of California. San Francisco has a current population of about 887,711 residents, all living on a total land area of about 46.9 square miles. Even though San Francisco is arguably one of the most beautiful cities in the United States, The last 3 months have seen the highest number of departing residents from the city. Nearly 20,000 residents have already moved in the last 3 months, and the main reason is the housing costs, which are through the roof. The cost of living here is extremely high, to the point that it costs 38% more to live here than in other state cities, and 94% more compared to the national average. Housing alone can be up to 238% more expensive than the national average, which is more than enough to leave a sizable amount of residents on the streets. So maybe sleeping on the streets won't be that bad, right? Spoiler alert, it is. In recent times, the crime rate here has gotten so bad that the San Francisco Chronicle reports that 45% of the city's residents have been victims of violent crimes. So where are people moving? Watch this for the 10 best states to live in America.